Hey Stampers, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and we're going to do another card today. This is a fun fold, super adorable. If I'm not mistaken, I believe I got this idea from Erica Cerwin. She shared one. It's a really fun fold. I mean, it's easy. I did ruin it the first time though because I didn't glue it correctly, so you can see that there. Just make sure that you take your time before adhering and watch the video before you go gung-ho. I know sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll just do it, and then that's what happened. But I have to get one more thing out I forgot about here. Okay, so what we're going to do first is this does actually have a watercolor component to this card. So this is watercolored. You can see here. Definitely has a lot more texture. If you want to skip that, there are also some pieces in this DSP, which is celebratory sips, where you can just cut it out. I am a very generous pour. You can see I filled these cups all the way up. So when I made my second version, I made sure I left a little bit, just a smidge of white space. But Christian even made one of these cards, and he did a really good job with it, so it's really fun. So what we're going to do before we do anything else is we're going to start with the watercolor part because it does need to dry. So we're going to do that. This is just a piece of, this is Stampin' Up! Watercolor paper, but this is the last pack that I bought. I'm going to switch back to my other one. I just don't like this watercolor paper quite as much. So I am going to grab one thing. I only need one drop because I'm doing one card. I have Strawberry Slush. Probably don't even need that much. And I have Timid Tiger. I'm just putting them on separate ones just for your informational purposes. It's such a small amount, you don't really need them to be on separate ones. I'm going to take a paintbrush and I'm going to take some water and I'm going to completely wet my paper. Doesn't really have to be perfect. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pick a color and you're going to add some water. And you're going to start from the bottom and you're going to drop the water in, and you can see it's going to go up and it gets lighter as it goes. That's what you want. So I'm going to add some more at the bottom here, hoping that I have enough white space up there. Then I'm going to repeat with the Strawberry Slush and starting here at the bottom, and you want it to bleed up. That is exactly what you want it to do. And we're going to leave that for some white space. So I'm going to wipe this off. Dry this. I'm going to clean these. Now, if you were doing many cards, you'd be good because you could use that over and over again, but we don't have that many. So I'm going to set this to the side to dry, and we're going to work on the rest of our stuff. In the meantime, I just want to put my cover on my, if you have really nice brushes and you have the ability to cover them, it keeps the tips in much nicer shape and it's easier to do while it's wet. So that's my suggestion. So here is our card. We have quite a lot of components for this. We do need a little strip for our sentiment. You're going to need some scrap pieces if you want to add the fruit to it. I cannot remember. I apologize. It's 161598. I feel like this is a crosshatch embossing folder. It is 3D. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it, but if you have this or something similar, because we're going to emboss one of these pieces and then we're going to drag white ink over it. So we have 3 pieces. These 2 are the same size, and then you'll just need a piece of white and a piece of Secret C, and then one larger piece and a piece of the DSP. So this is Strawberry Slush for these 3 background pieces, and then you need DSP, white, Secret C. Our base is also Secret C. So to begin, we are going to, I'm going to show you this first. This is our piece of base, okay? And the base is 5.5 by 10 3/4, not 11, because if you do, it'll be wrong and you won't understand why. So 10 3/4 by 5.5. And what we're going to do is we're going to score each side at 1 5/8 and 3 1/4. So 3 1/4. And let me move my coffee. 1 5/8. And we're gonna 90 degree and same thing again. 1 5/8, 3 1/4. Okay, so that is your base. Then you also have some pieces here. Okay, so I'm going to tell you as we go along. So this is 3 by 5. Okay, and then you're going to need this to be a 1/4 inch smaller. So this would be 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. That's going to layer on top. Again, I said these 2 pieces of strawberry slush are the same. Okay, they measure, where am I here? 3, I think it's 3 4 1/4. Yes, 3 by 4 1/4, and then this was for the inside, 3 by 4 1/4. So as you see there, this is going to just be a little bit smaller. So you are at 2 7/8 by 4 and 2 7/8 by 4. Now this piece is going to get embossed, so we're going to go ahead and do that now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up with this bottom line so I ensure that it's straight. And I'm going to run this through my machine. And for those of you who forgot, or maybe you're new here, I still have a Big Shot. So this is a 3D embossing folder, which means you have to have this blue plate. So I usually, and this is worn off, I label these so I know which one it is. So A goes with A. This is a regular Big Shot platform. If you have something different, you just have to figure out what to use. But we're going to open this, and you'll see it's nicely embossed. So there's that part. And this one we're going to drag white ink on. This one we're going to stamp on. So again, we're going back to Cheers and Sips. And I just pulled out, I think I did the lemons or limes or oranges, whatever you want to call them. And then this looks like the celery top. But instead of using that, I'm going to use the mint sprigs today. So I'm just going to pick this up and this up. All right, and what we're going to do, so I just basically stamped on the bottom. We're just going to do that, and then we'll do our white. And we're just still, again, waiting for that other part to dry a little bit. So let me grab a scrap. So I kind of tried to stick with the same colors, but again, if you're going with lemons, obviously you're not going to do the same color. So I'm going to go with peach pie. And we're just stamping a couple oranges here. Very tiny oranges at the bottom. And then I will grab a garden green and we'll put in our mint sprig like that. Doesn't really have to be any particular way. Now, what you can do while this is still a little bit wet is take your blender pen and you can kind of bring the ink in from your mint. That way it softens it so it's not so much stark white. And then you could do the same with your orange or lemons or whatever your particular fruit is that you want. But I want to show you one other thing you could do if you have these. If you happen to have the Stampin' Blends, so this is the dark peach pie, you can kind of just add a little bit of color to like one side. It kind of gives you more of that rind look because you still will have the pith in there that's white. And again, that does go through, but since this will be layered on something, you really won't see it. I didn't really do much with that one. I just kind of left it light. So for the white portion, where did I put my ink pad? Here it is. You're going to take, if you happen to still have this, mine is really old. If not, nowadays I think they come smaller. You're going to take your white craft ink pad and you're going to just drag it like that, just lightly. So this does take a few minutes to dry, so you don't want to fool with that if you can help it. And in the meantime, the one other thing we're going to do, because we are going to need to wait a little bit anyway, is we're going to stamp our sentiment. And that is just on a scrap strip. And that is actually from Simply Said. It's the big happy birthday. This is probably one of the most used stamp sets that I have bought because apparently I like to do things that have this long line wordage. So I use it quite a lot. And I'm just going to do my best to just put that in one straight line. Perfect. And then we're going to just trim that. So that just needs to dry. Now, we do have a couple other things that we're going to do, but we have to wait. I am using VersaFine ink once I do it, only because it gives a really, really deep black color to this. And once you watercolor it, it just sticks a little bit differently, especially because of this type of watercolor paper, which is why it's really not my favorite. I like a different brand better because it doesn't, it kind of almost makes the stamp stick to the paper where it's going to rip your paper, and that's not something you want. So we're going to put some of this together while we just wait 1 more minute. They're almost dry, which is good. I didn't want to have to dry it, because if you let it dry naturally, it kind of looks a little bit better. So you can see it's just still just slightly wet. So we're going to just glue some of this down. This also, because it's a pigment ink, the white ink is a craft ink, which is just means it takes a lot longer to dry. So it is still going to be wet. So we're not going to put it on. We're just drying it to let it set for now. And just watch your fingers so you don't get white on everything. There's one. This is for, here it is, our inside panel. And this is our DSP panel. Now, I also had a lot of these done ahead of time because we made all these cards for Stamp Club, so I have some extras. So I just have a couple, this is like an orange-ish here. You can see how I cut it. So I ended up cutting it out with my 1-inch circle punch, and then I just kind of cut to one side and then trimmed the rest of it. So I'll show you what I mean. And it just kind of makes it a little bit easier. What I did is I stamped these with the ink color, and then I colored them in with the Stampin' Blends so they would have some tone variations. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a wedge in here. That way I can slide it into one of the glasses. You can also do the same with the strawberry, which I'll show you in a minute. So I'm just going to hit this with my bone folder. So that is your card base. You don't want to glue these on again yet because you have to wait. We can glue the inside panel on, only because that one's pretty self-explanatory. So we're just kind of going for centering it in the center. Talk about Captain Obvious. There we go. So when these fold over, you need to glue this to one side, only gluing here. And then this one, you're going to glue to this side, only gluing here, or else your card will stay shut. So that's what we're going to do eventually. But let me trim this. And then we will move on. I'll show you what I did for my strawberry. All right, so we have our sentiment. All right, so for the strawberry, I thought I had another little scrap piece here. What I did is I used Memento to stamp it, and then I colored it with Stampin' Blends. Okay, so there's our strawberry. I think somebody used an alcohol marker on here. It's stained. Don't do that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to grab my light strawberry slush and my light real red Stampin' Blend. And I believe I used Granny Apple Green. So this does take a minute to dry. We're just going to see if we can hurry that along a little bit. So I'm going to take the bullet tip end of this. There's that. And then I'm starting with the slush. You just want to make sure this is dry so you don't bleed your ink color. Oh, pardon my stomach. And then I'm going to use the bullet tip of the red and just kind of give it like a more of a shadow on one side. There we go. And I'm leaving that. So this does have to be fussy cut. There may be a dye, I don't know, but honestly, I think this is so simple for me. What I did is I stamped probably about 15 of these, then I colored them in, then I cut them out. So it was kind of like I was just doing my own assembly line, and it was when I was watching Little House on the Prairie, which I have now been watching from beginning to end. I don't know. I am, I guess, trying to go back to simpler times, which probably were not that simple because everything terrible was already happening on there all the time. So here's our strawberry and here's our orange that we're going to use. So I'm fairly confident this is mostly dry, but I'm going to hit this with my heat tool just a minute, just to dry this last part. Okay, that is good enough. There is still a tiny bit of wet there, but it's okay. So I'm gonna grab my glass. Look, see, there's a die for the strawberry. Just for me, it's easier to just cut it out. Okay, so now I have my wine glass and I have my VersaFine. Again, this does take an extra second, but it really gives you a nice deep dark color. So I'm kind of just trying to decide, where do I want my glass? I want to try to make it so it's not filled to the top again. I guess I did pretty good-ish, who knows? And then we'll go up here for this one. Okay, so that is it. This does need a second or so to dry. Not really that long, so I'm going to go ahead and start cutting. And just going to trim these out. And I do not cut right to the line, which I know might look a little bit strange, but creative license. There's that one. And here. So this is the third in the series for this particular stamp club. This is the first time I've ever done one, I guess, base set and just added a couple additional things. Usually I do completely different stuff, and it was really fun. I liked it a lot. It made it kind of a challenge to be able to just use the one thing, so I thought that was pretty fun. Okay, so back to the card. We are going to, I want to show you this. So I do have a little sparkle in there, so I'm going to grab my Wink of Stella, because I figured if it was something summer fun, you would have some sparkling in it. So I'm just going to add a little sparkle to the top there. And then I am going to put this into my glass, and do I like it better that way? I don't know which way. I kind of feel like I might have to switch up the sides of these because the way I cut the fruit. Yep, so we're going to switch sides. And so I'm going to cut just a little slit here. And then this will be the same way. Let's see, which way do we want? That looks cute, just like that. I might move it up a little bit. And to get this to stay, we're going to use dimensionals. So I'm just going to flip this over how I have it and add some dimensionals. So we're going to have one dimensional that's holding that to the cup. Same here. And then just add a couple other ones. I probably should have spread those out better, but one there. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put one on the strawberry. There we go. So we have that. These are going to get glued down. So we're going to finish assembling the card now. So here's what it looks like. And we're going to put some glue on this side. Again, just on the one side. It is going to be a moving card though, so you do want to have a decent amount of glue. We're going to put this down here and just give that a minute. Okay, so remember, this is going to go under, this goes on top, so this is going to sit here. So now we're going to put glue on this side. It doesn't really matter which side because we haven't glued anything down yet, but only on one side. That's where I went wrong, because when I made my original card, I put glue all the way to this half and it was pretty much half glued closed. So we're going to press this down and we're going to put this here like that. Make sure we're still opening and closing. Awesome. Okay, and now we're going to just decide. I think we said we were going to put this here. So we're going to put this here and here, and then put our happy birthday. So this card is definitely a wow card. It is going to cost extra postage, but if you love someone a lot, I'm sure everyone has that one very special friend or aunt or relative or whatever it may be, and you can send them this awesome card and they will totally appreciate it. So we're going to go like that. Looks good. I did want to put just a little bit of wink on my fruit. Okay. And finally, here's my happy birthday. And we're going to just put some glue on this. And we're going to put that right there. You could take, I mean, you could do cheers. You could do lots of other stuff. Lots of things you could do for this, but this will fold closed. Maybe it's just the fact that I did a lemon instead of an orange and I should have gone with a lemon to have some contrast, but, or a lime, but whatever. You could use a different color there, which would be another cool idea as well. But this card is really, really fun. I think the fact that it has all these different parts to it and different techniques that you use also, you know me, more is more, make it really fun as well. So really easy card to create. You could switch it up for anything. It could be mocktails. It's adorable, and it does fold nicely closed if you do it correctly. I will have all of the measurements and the supplies used linked to my blog. Once I get that done, you will be able to search that there. If you'd like to get any of these supplies to make your own version of this, head to my online store. There are lots of new things added because once July 1st came, they opened up a whole new thing. They have a lot of Halloween, fall, a few Christmas, lots of other really fun kits, and a whole nother slew of online specialty stuff. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, I would love for you to like, subscribe, follow, and share this with a friend. If you give me a thumbs up, that supports me greatly. I do really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below in the video. I know this was a little bit longer of a video, and the other one that I have is a little bit longer than that, but it's such an awesome card. You're going to have to come back and watch it. Thanks so much for watching. Have an awesome day.